Soon. Well, thank you and hello, welcome. Thank you for being here today, especially on the last kind of part of your lunch hour. We're excited to have everyone here. Hope everyone else is just as excited. We have some great things to show you today. So for those of you that don't already know who I am, my name is Ryan Johnson. I'm the director and co-founder of Systema Solutions. Together with my beautiful wife, Rochelle, we started Systema Solutions in 2015 out of sort of this desire to reduce the general industry focus lacking in client-centric agility. And what I mean by that is through sort of our years of experience, we found in the industry it is more focused on the main project and implementation instead of truly partnering with the company for growth, agility, and strategic alliance. So we're a fairly young company, and I also like to think of myself as young, but I am getting older. We're 6 years old, but we've experienced some fairly rapid growth in brain power, and more so, of course, with that comes the clients. So we have over 200 years of combined experience if you add up all that brain power together, and we mostly focus on Dynamics 365 products. So our main focus is Dynamics Business Central, Dynamics Sales, Power Platform, amongst many others. We do IT services, and we partner with many other companies to bring a true rounded solution for your business. And with that being said, Dynamics 365 would not be where it is today without these strategic alliances to add functionality in industry vertical solutions. And that's why I'm excited to introduce you to Aaron from Insight Software and Jet Reports. They've been sort of a mainstay in the industry as a strategic partner. They've been around in the Dynamics world since just eons. Well, I think since like 2000 or even I think even before that, right? So I'm happy to welcome Aaron and I'll let him tell you a little bit about himself. But we're going to focus on some really cool things with cash flow and ad hoc reporting in this session. But that's definitely not the only thing that Insight Software provides. They have a whole host of other reporting capabilities as well too. So with that, Aaron.
Yeah, thanks for the introduction, Ryan, and definitely happy to be here joining you today. Jet absolutely is, we're Dynamics focused, and a big part of how we do that is by working with great partners like Ryan and the folks at Systema Solutions, because, as you'll see today, Jet has a lot of capabilities. There's a lot it can do, but we need these partners to help make sure that we're bridging that gap between what you see today and making sure you're able to accomplish these same goals and objectives with your data using Jet and with your ERP. And so looking forward to discussing this and kind of walking through what we can do together here today.
And for our agenda, we're going to see how you can manage your cash flows quite easily with the tools you're already familiar with, which I'm sure everyone's familiar with Excel. And we're going to be able to drill down on cash flow information and easily build cash flow dashboards and reports and get really into the sort of the detail of this information that you're that you need. And all of this isn't on ad hoc basis. So you don't need a partner to come in and build these things for you. You can be trained quite easily to build these things for yourself, which is what the true power of where Jet comes in. So I'll pass it over to Aaron, and I think you can start a bit of a demo.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, yeah, for those who are not familiar, maybe you're thinking, who's Insight Software? It's the broader organization that has the Jet products. Jet's been working really purely focused around the Dynamics community for 20 years. We started in 2002, and the whole focus has been helping Dynamics users get more out of their ERP data, actually utilize it in ways that allow them to drive better decisions for their organization. And of course, we want that to be, where users want to work with their data, which is right inside of Excel. And that's what Jet delivers. And so what we'll be looking at today is through the lens of Jet Reports and Jet Analytics, how we can better manage our cash flows, get a better handle on that, as well as working capital, and really just make sure that we have We understand where the financial strength lies in our organization, and if we need to make changes, be able to do so decisively by having the data that you need at your fingertips. And so what we'll be looking at, we have different customized solutions of Jet for each of the different dynamic systems. We'll be focusing today around Business Central, but if you're on GP or Nav or one of those other systems, just know that Jet's going to have you covered. We're going to be able to make sure you're able to utilize that ERP data and get that into the hands of your users. And so digging into what we're going to discuss here today, I mean, a big part of why Jet is so prominent is because we give you live real-time data directly out of your ERP. And a lot of organizations, when we talk to folks who have manual processes, especially in this past year, we found that those processes were too slow for the questions your business was facing. There was a lot of uncertainty last year. We're in a better position, but certainly there continues to be uncertainty in the market now, whether it's supply chains, whether it's and the way those have been disrupted, whether we're focusing on looking at things like inflation or other economic variables we need to consider. The whole idea is you want to be able to quickly analyze this, make decisions, and move on for your business, not get stuck waiting for reports to be either written or modified. And Jet does a lot to enable that for users. We're going to look at a few different ways we can do so. And I like to kind of start by understanding why do a lot of customers invest in Jet products. These are kind of the most common things we see, and they all drive ROI, they'll improve performance of your organization. And so today on these, we're really going to focus on the ways we can improve working capital and better cash flow management. It's about putting your company in a position of financial strength so you can manage change decisively, whether that's mitigating risk or seizing opportunity. And so we're going to look at a few different examples of how Jet can enable this. Let's kind of first set the stage on what is being demanded of finance teams today, because it's not just a matter of getting your monthly end reports completed. We're seeing a new environment where users are really being called upon with greater demands for their data and more flexibility in how users are able to access it. So what Jet helps enable and what teams are looking for today is the ability to access this data in real time, to speed up those reporting cadences. One of the things we looked at with cash flows was folks I was talking to, it took 2 months to put together a cash flow when you needed that data yesterday. So setting up a report library where you can refresh those reports at the click of a button, get the most up-to-date data seamlessly, that's something we're going to help enable, along with drill downs. You have full visibility into all the detail behind those, so you can truly analyze the information, not just get a static report of questionable use. A big part of how Jet operates, which we'll look at as well, is the ability to do quick ad hoc reporting, either in the form of designing those reports, or even just giving users who may not be technical some levers where they can slice and dice the data themselves without having to design stuff. And then, of course, as we look towards more and more, this remote workforce is becoming more of a reality long term. How can we help enable those teams? How can we manage these where we have teams spread out across different time zones, across different offices, making sure that they're all able to access the data independently? And so we're going to be looking at this as we kind of walk through some examples with Jet reports. And a lot of this is going to cover some main levers that we can use to kind of assess and evaluate critical business risk. So we'll look at some details around cash flow management, how we can balance our working capital requirements and reduce those, ways to bolster a cash position, and then how can we identify short-term revenue opportunities. And the way Jet enables you to do this is by giving you the ability to pull data from any table field review within your ERP and design those directly inside of Excel. It also lets you tie together any kind of Excel functionality you want to. So if there's formulas, charts and graphs, conditional formatting, certain KPIs and metrics you're looking to calculate, we can build those into the report. So you're not just extracting data, you're actually getting those key metrics that you're really looking for, and you're having full presentation level reports that you can send out to board members, department heads, anyone in your organization who needs to make use of that data. And as I mentioned, it's directly inside of Excel. So the idea is your finance team is going to be able to design these themselves without having to rely on IT. And so to to kind of kick things off, I have some sample reports we actually have built ready to go for Business Central right out of the gates. And we'll look at how we can use some of these to better assess where our organization's at. Because when we talk about things like managing cash flow or balancing working capital, I mean, there's a lot of straightforward solutions to that, whether it's liquidizing redundant inventory, better utilization and tracking of orders, billing work in progress as frequently as possible. Maybe you're looking towards, how can I better mine my existing customer base and incentivize those customers, understand where your priority customers are. How you can act on this is not the complicated thing. It's about making sure that you understand where the problems are and you can diagnose your business. So let's jump in and let's look at a few of these examples, just using what we have ready out of the gate for you with Business Central. Jumping in, you'll notice we're directly inside of Excel. We have the jet ribbon at the top. This is what we're going to use to essentially tell the system what data we want to bring in, how we want to lay it out for inside of Excel. And then we can also use it to refresh these reports anytime we need to pull in the latest data. I mentioned we had ways that we can allow your users to be able to slice and dice the data a bit. That would be in the form of these report options. This can be a really handy way if you're used to giving teams that come back to you with a report and say, hey, I want to see this. Can I see this focus on specifically my department? Can I see it broken out across this particular customer group? These are ways where you can essentially give those users those options without having to have them modify the report in any capacity. So something like this, maybe I want to look at my rolling cash flow from the start of the month. The dates are pushed forward, so this isn't looking to the future here, even if that date is pushed forward a bit. And then I can also choose what kind of, how much data am I trying to bring in? Do I just want to focus on the last couple months? Do I want to bring in the whole quarter? And when I run the report on that criteria, Jet's going to pull the data directly out of our ERP, live up to the min information, lay it out for us inside of Excel. And it's also going to keep all the Excel functionality we built into this. So you notice the chart and graph populates, these columns extend out, even though, since we added to the range we're pulling from. And so Jet's going to work to keep your formatting in place so you can still have the look and feel you want to with these reports and not have to do any kind of manual manipulations after you've run the reports. And then the whole idea with these sample reports, they're designed to be very quickly for you, easy for you to jump in and modify. If we go back in a design mode real quick, we pretty much just have one column that we need to update. It's just about pointing these to the relevant accounts in your organization. At that point, it's tied to your data. We have the functions that are set to actually pull the information we need to. It's just making sure we have the right accounts for your organization. And we'll see this kind of hold true as we work through some of these other sample reports as well. And as we're looking at here, we're going to make sure we have all those different facets of the business we were discussing. So do we want to get a quick handle on our working capital? We can run this report for any given date range here, bring in the latest data and see what our working capital looks like, what our current ratio is at, making sure that metric's always on hand for us. And get this in the hands of users as well. Jet has some functions we'll look at in a couple minutes that make the financial data in particular very easy to work with, but we can connect to anything in the system, so we can bring in your operational detail as well. That means if we want to look into our existing customers, try to understand our customer base, we have reports out of the box like this that allow us to really dive in and not just see, okay, here's what our most profitable customers are, but understand what subset of this business does that make up? Where are we seeing the majority of our sales? Maybe I want to look at this and I'm trying to understand, are there customers that provide an additional opportunity of revenue? So maybe I want to see which ones are the highest margin, which one are we returning the most value on? And see here that there may be some customers that we're underutilizing. Maybe we should be understanding, how are these users, what products are they buying? How can we get more business out of them because we're seeing a great return for those users? And we're going to see this apply out in some other different areas of the business. A very common question we got last year was, trying to get a better handle on inventory. Maybe you're trying to understand not just what's selling a lot of, but perhaps what isn't selling, what's just taking up space on the shelf. So this is another one we rolled out this last year to kind of help answer some of those questions around uncertainty, where maybe we want to say, hey, let's look back to 2018, see what we haven't sold. And if we wanted to break it down further, we could go ahead and, we could break it out by specific warehouses if maybe we're trying to understand location by location what this looks like, or even across different customer posting groups, different product posting groups, whether we want to break out our retail or direct lines. And then you can run that report and find out maybe these are items that we don't need to carry anymore. This is a cost to our business. We're not seeing profit around this. These are things we should think about liquidating, prioritizing different product lines that would make more sense. And then beyond that, we're going to make sure you have your data covered with inventory, where if you want to break things out across different product mixes, understand where you're seeing value in those different categories, be able to look at this history over time and do some more trend analysis. So if you want to model things year over year, broken out across those different item categories, I think you're starting to get the idea. There's a lot of flexibility in how Jet can set these reports up, how you can make sure that you have the data you need at your fingertips. And then when it comes time to get these reports in the hands of users, you can set up automated distributions. We have an email scheduler that you can sync with Outlook or any other email client to set up these to go out to users weekly, monthly, daily. We even have options where you could set a trigger inside of the report to go out to those users. We're saying maybe when a certain inventory value hits a critical threshold, you need to replenish certain inventory, have a report automatically go out to your buyers so they can make the necessary changes. It's all about empowering users with the data you already have and you're already managing inside your ERP. And so these are going to be great to get you out of the box. There's over 100 of these available for Business Central, but let's look at how we can use these tools to design some stuff from scratch as well. Because as we said, this is meant to be a self-service reporting tool. The idea is that your team should be empowered to be able to design the reports you want, share those with your users as needed. So I'm just going to open up a new workbook. We'll start with maybe we want to look at some financial data, quickly pull it into the report. A lot of folks are going to enjoy first turning to this fast financials tool. Great ad hoc way to pull in financial detail. You see when I open this up, immediately gives us this live view into our general ledger. So it's looking right back in Business Central, giving us our live data right there. And we can pull in our balance detail, we can pull a budget, have it calculate variance for us. And then if I want to bring some of this data into the report, like say I want to do a quick P&L, I can go ahead, grab these ranges. We can just drag and drop those into the report here. We can go ahead and grab our cost of goods. We can scroll through, we'll grab our expense accounts. I'll just scroll through to the bottom, grab this whole range, pull off those column headers, and we can just drop it right in. And so Jet's laying it out for us. It's returning the data. It's laying it out for us inside of Excel in the format that we saw there. And so if this is all we need, we just wanted to pull some data in, quickly run the report. Great, it's ready to go for us. When we hit run, you notice it also built a couple of these report options right out of the gate for us. So pretty common experience you'll see with Jet is we're going to always make sure there's a handful of things that are easily accessible to use in your data. Mainly breaking this report out across companies or across your global dimensions. We're going to always make sure those are readily available for you. So if, say, in this case, we want to look at our small and mid-sized customers alone, I can refresh the report based on that criteria and just get data relevant to those dimensions. And then if we want to drill into the detail, it's just a click away. And there's a couple ways you can set up Jet's drill down. You can have it go inside of Business Central, open up that transaction view right in BC. From there, navigate to the invoices or any other information you're looking for. Or it can drop right into this grid view inside of Excel, where we can see all the transactions that make up a given balance, the metadata around those. If we wanted to pull up and group these, we can see that all the transactions are just limited to those dimensions we filtered it by. And then we can also, if we want to filter the data within this, looking for transactions on specific dates or what have you. There's some ways you can massage the data in here as well. And then of course, you can always export back into Excel if you need it. And so that's nice, quick and easy to pull data in. What if you want to modify it? The whole idea with Jet is that anytime you're returning data, it's going to write that out in the form of a formula inside of Excel, which means you can tie Excel functionality to it. You can see here, we can pull in our balance or budget, our credits or debits. We can assign which accounts we want to pull from, or we can even cell reference within the report. And we're also going to make sure we have our global dimensions available to us as well once again. But because it's in Excel, it means we can use a lot of Excel workflows to modify this. So like say we want to break this out month over month, I can just copy these columns over, come in, just start hard coding in some date ranges. So, maybe we want to see this broken out month over month. I'll just plug those in. Maybe we also want to be able to look at this and see year to date and maybe previous year to date. That's all Excel functionality. I can just quickly update these. You're seeing as I make these changes, the cache data below is changing to reflect those. And so it gives you the opportunity to break out these reports how you want to, model the data how you want to. And so if people want historical comparisons, if people want month over month, it becomes very easy to set that up right inside of the report. And the other thing I wanted to touch on with this is, when these reports are created, even these sample reports, they're fully modifiable. You can go back and redesign these. Like maybe we want to go back and look at this working capital example. This is something where if we look at what company it's pulling from, it actually just has a wildcard. So it's basically saying, give us a consolidated view of all of your companies together. A lot of organizations, that's how they want to look at things from the top down, but maybe we want to break those out across those companies as well. For Jet, that's a very simple task. I can just go ahead, duplicate this sheet. We'll just create a copy of it. And then we'll take that copy and basically say, well, what if I wanted to actually give us a different company on each sheet so I can better organize this data? So we'll leave the first sheet alone, but I'm going to come into here and now rather than this wildcard, I'm going to use an NL function. And this is kind of the Swiss Army knife of the Jet ribbon, very versatile tool here. We can break out any data point in your system across rows, across columns, across sheets. So you can break things out the way you need to get the granularity you're looking for. Something like this, it's something we'll say, hey, let's return data across sheets. What I want to return across sheets is I want to pull from different companies. And let's give us a new sheet for each different company value. And then when I go ahead and run this report, I'll run it for that same date range. And we're going to see our consolidated view still on the first sheet, but we'll also be able to look at each company individually if we want to do more targeted analysis. And so a big part of this, taking these examples, these sample reports, customize them to your data. And then at that point, these reports are ready to go. You can save them, send them out to users. They'll be able to refresh those reports as needed and get into the latest data. And so, we're kind of working through some examples on how, we can modify these existing reports, how we can quickly pull some data in and do some ad hoc reporting. But some of you may be thinking, well, this sounds fairly straightforward. I have more complex data than that. Or maybe I have data that's spread out beyond just my ERP. A lot of organizations, if you look on average, the typical organization has as many as 7 different databases where they're storing information. So for some organizations, answering some of these questions is a little more complex than just their ERP data. For a lot of folks, that's the point where we would start suggesting you take a look at Jet Analytics. Now, what Jet Analytics does, this is our business intelligence solution. Very similar to how Jet Reports gives us some live real-time reporting directly out of our ERP, and we have specific tools built for Business Central. We actually have a predefined data warehouse in cubes ready to go for Business Central, covering all your major business processes with the data mapped out. So you have all your tables joined, your calculations are set up the way your organization needs them. So you can essentially have one controlled and governed data source that you can use to access for your reporting, regardless of how many different systems that data is spread out across. And then from there, it enables easy ad hoc reporting and data visualization, and allows you to bring in more complex KPIs and metrics to track. So we'll kind of look through this. Mainly, I want to kind of start this subject around cash flow management and kind of what we can do around this. And a lot of folks, when they're looking at how you can manage your cash flows, a big part of it is balancing your receivables and your payables and trying to find alignment so you can ensure a positive cash flow with those. Now it's data spread out in a few different places, so we're going to need a little extra work to get that data all into one report, unless we're using a tool like analytics where we can actually model that data in the back end a little bit. It's also, as we're going to look at in a sec, allows us to establish some key metrics and actually have those calculate in the back end. So that way any user in the organization wants to grab that data, they're all working with the same numbers and you can trust that it's calculated the way your organization wants to. The particular metrics we'll be looking at here in just a sec would be days sales outstanding and days payables outstanding. What was the average amount of time to collect? It's the average time we're paying out to our vendors. Now, before we get into those examples, I just kind of want to set the stage on what a BI implementation is really accomplishing here, just so we're all on the same page. Starts with your ERP. As we all know, it's a web of tables and fields that all have specific relationships between them. And when you're trying to use that data, it's certainly not disorganized, but the end user does need to know where that data lives. Using a real-time reporting tool like Jet Reports, I mean, you saw that it was very flexible and easy to use and leans on a lot of Excel functionality, but you as an end user, you still need to know where that data lives and how it relates across those tables if you're trying to tie them together. So what a BI implementation is all about is about optimizing that data for consumption, organizing it by subject matter, bringing in just the relevant data. So if there's messy or bad data, we can leave it behind. And then again, really tying data from those multiple sources. So if you have your customer information spread out across a CRM, point of sale, some of it's in the ERP, we can bring all of that together and give you one unified data set across all of your systems. And that's where a lot of BI tools will stop. We actually also have a set of pre-built cubes ready to go for Business Central around your major business processes like sales, finance, inventory, AP, AR, and purchasing, making sure that you can grab data on an ad hoc manner in a very easy way, even if you're not a technical user who may not know where the data is. And so with that in mind, let's take a look at this and let's apply it to getting a better handle on some of our cash flow information. I mentioned we want to talk about how we can tie together our receivables and payables, understand, we can get alignment on that, monitoring those days sales outstanding and days payables outstanding metrics. We can get a lot of that information ready-made out of the cubes. So I'm going to open up here. This is what we have ready to go for Business Central, and it can be customized and tailored to your organization. So say we want to jump into our receivables cube. I'm just going to open up with a pivot table right inside of Excel. And you notice what opens on the right here. We're no longer looking at tables and fields. These are measures and dimensions. They're calculated values. Measures would be anything numerical, the amount in the local currency, maybe a multi-currency concerns. We could track it in the transaction currency and have all those calculations mapped in the back end, so you don't have to worry about converting things. All these numerical values would be measures, and then dimensions would be anything you tie to those to give relevance and meaning to those. So maybe it's your aging buckets, different customer details like their posting groups, the currencies, companies. Again, we're going to make sure global dimensions are ready. And so this is something where, this could be data spread out across 2 or 3 systems, across half a dozen tables. But for me as an end user, I just focus on the real world outputs I'm looking at. So we can grab the amount in the local currency. We can grab our aging buckets, can split those out across columns. Go ahead and drop in our customers, break those out across our customer groups so we can separate out our EU and North America sales. Maybe we want to get some slicers put into this. I want to be able to break this out by company. I'd also like to be able to break it out by currency. And this is actually one of our pre-built reports out of the box, almost exactly as you see it here. But you see with analytics, the data is kind of already set up to simplify that question for those end users. So they can just say, hey, these are the outputs I want. And you can trust that they're going to be calculated the way your organization needs to. So you can quickly get a handle on your receivables, your payables, and you can even tie them together in one report. Like I worked on this with our solutions engineer, where basically we wanted to really put those metrics right next to each other and be able to analyze what's our days sales outstanding, what's our days payables outstanding, what do we need to do to get some alignment on these. We can see right here with this organization that they're not receiving payment from customers nearly as quick as they're sending it out for payables. So there's work to be done there. We can start looking at particular customers, maybe try to understand which ones are the ones that are really, affecting this. Is there a way we can incentivize certain customers to speed up the cadence? Can we delay payments to vendors in a predictable way that's going to help balance this, but not disrupt that relationship? Having this kind of data at your fingertips, you can slice and dice and break things out. You could think maybe you want to break this out across your dimensions, across departments. You can do some additional analysis within this, but having everything kind of calculated in the back end gives you a nice way for your users to be able to quickly fetch data without having a real technical experience. We can take one final example at this where, say we wanted to get a quick snapshot. Maybe we're trying to look at back to the customer side a little bit. Maybe we're going to pull in some sales data. Again, we have measures and dimensions, very straightforward. Things like our unit cost, our profit, our sales amounts. Dimensions here, we could be thinking about different customer details, different item categories, breaking things out across locations. So here, say you want to see some long string of data, like you want to see your sales, your cost, your profit broken out year over year by customer, by location. There could be a really complex conversation around what tables that feeds into, what systems. But again, for the end user, it's kind of reporting in plain English. You just start checking the boxes on what you want to see. And that's exactly what you're going to get when you pull this in. So it's really a way where you can open the door for more users to be able to utilize the data. They don't have to understand, how table structures work, where data lives. They can just go ahead and kind of check these boxes, grab the real world outputs they're looking for. We can drop these into Excel. You could also use data visualization tools like Power BI with this, where you basically just point Power BI at the cubes, and then you can build dashboards in a matter of minutes. And then you can dig into these individual item categories, slice and dice across locations, and even drill into detail that would be spread out across all of your systems. So there's a lot of different ways that we can get this information right at your fingertips, but really that's the focus of JET. It's empowering finance teams. You're able to design reports as you need to have the look and feel you want, and then be able to seamlessly get that in the hands of users so they can refresh those reports as needed, get the information they need, and be on their way. So you're not being bogged down with report requests, behind the curve on getting reports out to users. And so your business can nimbly move and adapt through change. And so I know we're getting close to the top of the time here today. Want to make sure we also open it up for any questions that anyone has, because I know we did cover quite a bit of ground here. And while we're waiting to see for some questions, I'll also just let you all know we are running a Q2 promo. Ryan can provide quotes and more information around this if you're interested, but essentially we're giving 25% off any new purchases of JET reports or analytics, as well as upgrades to analytics. Those are good on annual subscription and perpetual licenses. And if you're an existing customer looking to add additional users, maybe you saw something here, you want more users on your team to be able to utilize, additional designers, viewers, or connectors are also 40% off with this. So Great time if you're looking to add some licensing, and even if you're on a monthly subscription, we can roll that over to annual subscription, so you can take advantage of it if needed.
Hey, Aaron, I have a question.
Yeah.
How can we use it for forecasting? So if I want to have 6 months of actual and then 6 months of forecast, do we have to import the forecast data into the ERP and then have it sucked out of the JET reports? Is that how that process would work?
That could be one way. A lot of times we'll see people actually kind of build the logic behind the forecast into the report. So whether usually because it's pulling in some previous actuals with, maybe there's some calculated metrics you're tying to it, some drivers you'll want to modify. And we'll kind of build those so you can juggle those within the same report. Are you bringing forecast data into Business Central currently, or what are you doing with that right now?
Well, we're still on an older version of NAV, so we're just thinking ahead here of upgrading. So
yeah, I think most of my experience that I've seen, it's been kind of designing that logic in the report. But we do have a lot of ways you can design reports where it can pull actuals up to a certain date, and then from another point on, if you want to grab budget numbers or things like that, there are reports even built out of the box that would kind of give you that rolling forecast look.
And
great, thanks.
if you'd like to have a session with us as well too on that, we're more than happy to help.
Great, thank you.
That could be a good one to look at the particular report and see how you're doing it now and where we could improve it.
Any other questions?
Going once.
Okay, well, thank you, Aaron. That was excellent, and thanks for everyone that's joined today. If you needed more information, we're definitely happy to help with any of your questions or concerns, or even if you want us to take a look at a report or get our opinion on it, we're happy to do that. Aaron, if you wouldn't mind going down to the contact information. You can call us by phone or email us at info@Systema or go to our website, www.systemasolutions.ca. Or you can email me directly as well too. My email address is ryan@systemasolutions.ca. There's no other Ryans in our organization, so for now, so that's quite handy. Yeah.
Nice.
But thank you everyone for your time. If there's no other questions, I think we can drop off.
All right, thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.